Welcome back, guys, to our 5th episode of the All Ball, No Foul podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Nick.
And Nick, what are we going to be talking about today?
Dude, we got a lot going on, man. And what we're going to be talking about today is, if people have been following us on Twitter, we had a question for the fans that we're going to have our opinions about. Are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown the best duo in the NBA?
I think they definitely can.
They're going to be excited about that. And we're going to be talking about 3 teams that are been playing great basketball, and they need to get the props that they deserve. And we're also going to be talking about our opinions on NBA awards, the MVP, Coach of the Year, Most Improved Player, Sixth Man of the Year, our opinions on that. And we're also going to be talking about who are going to be the NBA All-Star stars for both the East and the Western Conference, and the reserves as well, and who's going to be the coach of each conference. So I'm very excited for today's episode, man.
I think it's going to be a great episode. A lot of good discussions, a lot of good talk, Nick. And before we really break into all of that, Nick, I wanted to get us off on our first topic today. Yes. And this is something that I saw on Twitter that I responded to earlier, and it was talking about the Zach LaVine trade. And this is something that I just kind of want to make known as, it's like, for a lot of us sports fans out there, we really hate when the media starts to do this, because truthfully, if a team struggles for a couple games and has a losing streak, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to blow it up. I've seen it time and time again, and it doesn't just go with the Bulls, it goes with the Lakers, it goes with the Nets, and it goes with multiple other teams where you see high-profile guys apparently are going to get traded because all these teams are interested. And I think one of the things, Nick, is that I think front offices are no longer patient with their guys. Somebody slips something out, and then it just seems as like you're just going to blow it up after 30, 40 games into the season, and it's like you're not even giving it a chance. So
now it's like, since social media has become like so powerful now, when, social media is a great thing when it comes to people able to say their opinions on things, but now it feels like, since like people's tweets and stuff can blow up so quickly now, and like it's like the front office people are just like looking at people's opinions, and they just believe at times that, they're right just because they're fans of our teams and this is what they believe, but they're not in our shoes. This is our job. This is our job to determine what's best for our team. The fans can say whatever they want, but they should be ignoring that. But it's like, now it's like, even being on like sports television shows, they're showing people's tweets and all this kind of stuff, but it's just like, these are just random people just talking, and sometimes I feel like a lot of these people on social media, they don't even like believe in what they're saying, they just want to get clout.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I feel like a lot of the reporters too, where they'll say like breaking news, or they'll say like sources say, right? If I don't see it saying Adrian Wojnarowski or Shams Charania, I'm not believing it, because I feel like there's too many reporters that are like insiders for certain teams that will say, this could happen because we have rumors or something. I mean, because like, think about it like this: when the summer was going on, I know like the whole Lakers and Nets fiascos, because both teams sucked last year. Let's just be honest. They both sucked.
100%.
And Russell Westbrook was a big topic of conversation of a trade. And even when the Lakers started struggling at the beginning of this year, what were they talking about? Trading Patrick Beverley, trading Kendrick Nunn. Is Westbrook going to get moved? And I mean, like, they've been up and down, but like, you noticed like where did all those rumors go?
I think it's just funny how like Russell Westbrook was the only one getting the blame when it was literally the entire team. Nobody was shooting it. Even LeBron at the time, first 10 plus games of the season, he was only shooting 25% from 3.
Yeah.
But everyone only wants to talk about Westbrook having a bad 3-point percentage. Patrick Beverley was at 21. AD was at 20%. What about those guys? Why are those guys not getting talked about at the time? Why was it all Russell Westbrook? But now, since he's been coming off the bench, he's only started 3 games this year, he might actually win Sixth Man of the Year if he keeps this up. And now everybody just loves the guy now. So it just drives me crazy how you can hate someone so much, and then all of a sudden, they backtrack their words so quickly. Like, just stick what you believe in, man. It's just crazy how people can change their opinions so quickly, and especially with the Nets too. Especially guys like Stephen A. Smith was like, he's never there. And all of a sudden, when Kyrie's been going ballistic, ever since he got suspended for, obviously for a very dumb thing that he did. But now it's like, he's putting on an absolute show. It just drives me crazy. You could talk so much crap about someone, and then, but praise someone at the same time. These people are just so inconsistent on TV now, and it just drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, like I feel like one of the biggest problems with ESPN is that the three topics that they love to talk about so much is LeBron's legacy. I think the other one they talk about a lot now is Luka, which, I mean, there's no hate on Luka.
No hate.
Like I know LeBron and Luka are great players, but don't you guys have anything else to talk
There's
about?
There's so many other great players, man. It's nuts.
Like, how are we not talking more about SGA? How are we not talking more about Tyrese Halliburton? How are we not talking more about the fact that still that Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and the Kings are a top 5 seed in the West, and we're almost halfway through the season. Why is that not being talked about?
Yeah, and the Pelicans are starting to get some recognition now.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Kings and Pelicans, being the surprise teams in the West before the season even started. And
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just they always want to focus on the big market teams, and they never want to give like those small market teams, except for the Bucks.
Yeah.
The Bucks have been getting their recognition ever since they won the championship, or ever since the first year Giannis won MVP, things like that. So
I think they've definitely been getting their respect. I would say like a guy that's really been showing up is Bol Bol. Like I think like, he finally got his respect back, and it's crazy because he really was the first Victor Wembanyama. He was the original one, and I think that it's funny because, again, I feel there's so many guys that are talented. Like, there's so many talented players that play the game of basketball that it's so easy to, like, look past somebody because they don't end up getting to that potential that people saw them at scouts, GMs, or leaders of organizations. They have this idea that this player's going to be really good, and then when it doesn't pan out for them, they kind of just sweep them under the rug. And then, there's guys like Bol Bol that will reemerge and then show, hey, I can play in the NBA. I have the ability. I have the skill set.
Who was a perfect example of that? Was Andrew Wiggins.
Exactly, and look at him. What's crazy, Nick, is that he is he actually is the 5th in voting right now for the All-Star game, and he's been hurt.
Yeah.
So, it really shows you that you can't always count somebody out. Mm-hmm. And who we cannot count out is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because I can tell you right now, this time last year, the Celtics were basically a bubble play-in team. Like, they were kind of teetering between being out of the playoffs to the play-in, and so much has changed.
Yeah, that's kind of about what you were bringing up with like all these people coming up with these rumors. Mm-hmm. When they were a few games under 500 at this point of the year last year, everyone's like, oh, they have to trade one of them. They have to build only around one of them. They can't play together. It kind of reminds me of like Portland Trailblazers with McCollum and Damian Lillard. Mm-hmm. All these experts are like, oh no, they can't play together. That one of them's got to go. Mm-hmm. End up being CJ going, but they went to a Western Conference Finals. They were in the playoffs all the time. It just drove me crazy because Tatum and Brown, technically, like, are they even in the primes of their career right now, the way they've been balling right now? And you want to give up one of them? Like, the media and these people, they just drive me absolutely crazy, man.
Again, it's the mainstream media, man.
Yeah.
They basically have, their, like, narratives that they would like to drive into people. And, I mean, again, that's why if you've noticed a lot when you, like, watch these videos on YouTube, or you, like see what people are saying on Twitter, people are just kind of tired of, like, the same old thing being said all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, let's be honest, okay? Jason Tatum this year, just to give you some numbers and break it down, Jason Tatum right now is averaging about 31 points per game, 4.1 assists per game, 8.1 rebounds per game, and I will say that he's probably looking at the best, possible shape of his career. Like,
absolutely.
He was being talked about as an MVP frontrunner. I mean, like, I think he's behind Luka for sure.
I think he's top 3 right now.
But, like, they're 26-12. They're first in the East. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joe Mazzulla has, done a good job to continue to coach that team up. Mm-hmm. And, even with all the Ime Udoka stuff and allegations and all that stuff that happened during the off season, which, it was a bad situation.
It hasn't affected their play as a team.
No, it has not, and they look really good. They look like the best team in the East. So
I agree.
So, and also Jaylen Brown is probably having his best season too, because he's averaging 27 points per game, 3.4 assists per game, and 7.3 rebounds per game. And I know, Nick, we said this in our first episode of the podcast back in October. But I would still say is that Jaylen Brown is like that guy that you never can doubt because he was the best player in the finals for the Celtics.
We agreed that if they would have won the finals, Jaylen Brown would have been finals MVP. I just think Jason Tatum just didn't shoot the ball well at all in the finals. It's weird because he had a better 3-point percentage than 2-point percentage, which is kind of crazy to believe because, Golden State switched a lot and, he wasn't taking advantage of those mismatches. He was just settling for too many tough mid-range jumpers instead of, taking guys like Gary Payne, a guy that's 6'1", when you're 6'8" with a Kevin Durant wingspan. You should be burying them down low.
No, 100%. And I think one of the other things too was, I think these are things that Tatum has improved on this year, finishing at the hoop, making sure that he's, he goes up strong and, not settling. And I think that's something is that he's really taken that finals loss to heart, and he's really trying to show people, hey, this wasn't a fluke. We're for real, and we're going to be here for a while. Yeah. So I think, I think that, yes, they are the best duo right now. I think that they are the most likely duo to be in the All-Star game together.
As starters.
Possibly starters, yeah. I think it's a very strong possibility, depending on the fan votes and what the coaches want as well, because we know it's kind of a combo with at least the starters and then the coaches pick all the reserves. But it'll be very interesting to see where this team goes. But I think, Nick, I have them as the 1 seed for this year's playoffs. I just don't see, they just look really good unless some major injury happens.
Yeah, I just think they have the deepest team in the East as well.
Yeah.
They got a lot of depth. I mean, you got Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench. I mean, he's starts on at least 20 teams in the NBA.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he was starting on the last 2 teams he was on, the Bucks and the Pacers. So you can't deny that. They have Derek White. They still have Al Horford. Robert Williams just came back. Time Lord's back now. So you got your rim defender right there. You obviously still have Marcus Smart. You still have Grant Williams. And I really would say is that if the Celtics want a chance to win a title, I think this would be their year to do it too. So let's see what happens. But moving forward, though, Nick, I know that you wanted to talk about some of the teams that we've really been seeing playing really well so far in this season. And I know one team that I did mention at the beginning of the season that I thought was going to do really well is the Nuggets. So.
Yeah, the Nuggets right now are the first team in the West. They're 24-13. And they're 18-9 in conference play, so they're racking up those wins conference play wise. They're 14-3 at home. They're taking care of home court, and even though they're only 10-10 on the road, great teams. If you're 500 on the road and you win, they're 14-3 at home, and if you can win at least 50% of your road games, you're gonna be in great shape. You're definitely gonna be a top 3 seed going into the playoffs. They actually have 7 players that are averaging double figures right now. 7. That's insane. You know what I mean? And they got, they're second in the NBA field goal percentage at 50%. They're first in the NBA 3-point percentage at 40%. They had the second best offensive rating in the NBA at 116.6. And they're also the second best team in the NBA in assists per game, which is 28.7 right now.
And when you look at that and you kind of just crunch all those numbers, just in case you just said, having the second offensive, rating in the whole NBA, I think it kind of tells you is that, hey, we have Jamal Murray back, we have Michael Porter Jr. back, we got other guys. Obviously now Aaron Gordon being acclimated into that.
Some great veterans too, man.
Yeah, they have the best starting 5 right now. I think right now the way that they're constructed, and they have KCP as well. I think he's a good 3-and-D player. You have Bruce Brown as well.
Jeff Green can still play, man.
Jeff Green. Didn't you see him a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, he's still playing.
Yeah,
he's still playing, man.
Yeah, and I think that team definitely is they remind me of the San Antonio Spurs team, and I'm talking about that Spurs team between 07 to 2013, 2014, where they're a consistent team. They're not necessarily the most fun team to always watch, but they're gonna win games because they're well coached and they're a well organized team. So I just cannot see them struggling to make it into the playoffs this year because they're finally healthy. And I think if they can add one more wing player, whoever that they could find maybe at the trade deadline, maybe a waiver, wire player, I think that team has a really good shot to possibly make it to the finals because I don't see anybody in the West as the most favorited team. There's a couple teams I could argue could make it. So
yeah, absolutely. And plus Jokic, I don't think he's the MVP front runner, but he's definitely in that top 4 or 5-ish mix still, and that's nuts, man. I mean, he's back-to-back MVPs. You know, if he wins it again this year, I mean, that's a big if. That'd be the first time I think since Larry Bird did it 3 years in a row.
And
like that's unbelievable. And people will say like Jokic is like Larry Bird, someone that's like not really athletic, but the way that he can, and he's not really quick, and he's able to do what he does, it's unbelievable. It's nuts.
Yeah, and Jokic's game is so fundamental as well. Like, he's a great passer. He can rebound the ball very well. He can shoot from 3. He can obviously drive in. He has handles. He's like, for a big man, and it's crazy still, this man got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. A second-round player. Probably the best player in that draft, if we look back at it now, because that was, I believe, the 2014 draft.
Yeah.
Where the most overhyped draft, and I'm sorry for people who love the 2014 draft class, but the most overhyped draft class I've ever seen, the best player came in the second round. So
it's crazy. Hey, European basketball, man. You learn the right fundamentals.
They're doing something better
playing overseas, man. You learn the real fundamentals of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, like 3 of the top 5 players right now in the NBA are European players.
100%.
So
by far.
I mean, I could even argue maybe
you could argue 4. You could really make that argument, but I'll just say 3 for now.
We'll say 3 for now.
Yeah.
But Nick, what about the Pelicans? Because I think that's another team too. It's been really good this year. I think Zion obviously coming back. I know he's hurt right now.
Yeah.
But what do you think about them?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because, you know, the Pelicans were a team that we talked about as like a sleeper in the West, one of those 2 teams, and the Kings as well. But we're talking about the Pelicans right now. That, you know, they're starting to get the respect in the sports world now. But it took a while. But yeah, they're 23-14. They're 3rd in the Western Conference right now. 15-9 conference record. They're taking care of those conference games. 16-4 at home. That's impressive as well. You know, and you know they have 6 players averaging double figures. But you know what's really interesting is they got 3 guys right now that are currently averaging 20 or more a game. You have Zion, Brandon Ingram, and CJ that are averaging 20 or more. It's only happened. We were just doing this research 10 times. Last time it's happened. I know KD, Steph, and Clay did it 3 years in a row, but that's only counts as 1 because they were the same trio, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
no, 100%.
It's unbelievable. And obviously it shows because they're 3rd in the NBA points per game at 117.4 right now. And they're actually 2nd in the NBA in steals right now. They're getting 9 steals a game. And which has been leading to, you know, points in the paint. I mean, they're 4th in the NBA in points in the paint with 55.2 points per game. Obviously, you have Zion, but if you're getting 9 steals, that means you're getting out of transition a lot. You're getting those fast break points a lot, too. So, I like the Pelicans, man. They got a good shot this year.
No,
they might make a move in the offseason, too.
If they could get 1 more piece, I think they're, like, prohibited favorites. I already think they're really good. It's constructed. I think if they had a true point guard, I think that would be like...
And Zion's health is going to determine a lot.
Yeah, because the biggest thing about Zion right now, and to give you a couple more numbers, Zion is probably having his best season in the NBA. 26 points per game, 4.6 assists per game, about 7 rebounds a game for him right now. And obviously, like, he's a freight train. Like, that man, get out of his way. Because, I mean, even that was said, like, you know... what CJ said, he's like pass Z the ball and get the F out the way.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally how he said it. That's the game plan, because let's be honest, Zion is one of the most unstoppable players in the NBA. He is a highlight reel waiting to happen. And I mean, he meant business too when, you know, he dunked the ball on the Suns. And I mean, you know, we're not going to talk about the Suns today, but you know, like, even Mikal Bridges admitted, he's like, if I was Zion, I would have done the same thing. And he went on JJ's podcast and said that. So,
like, you know, as like a basketball player myself, like, if I was the other team, would you feel some type of way about it? Sure. At the same time, Zion did bring up a lot of good points in that interview. Like, yo, I was hurt during those playoffs, and I saw my team lose to this team, and I just wanted to. He just wanted to make a statement. It's like, this year. We're here.
No doubt.
You know, so because no one was really giving them a shot against the Suns. Really, I think they won 2 games though, right? That went to 6 games.
That went to 6 games.
Yeah,
that was
they gave him a hard fought series.
That was the emergence of Jose Alvarado. That's when we really started hearing his name. And this year he's been obviously a factor for them. And they're basically like on their defensive end. He's like the new Pat Bev over here.
Dude, I couldn't agree more, man. He just has that attitude, man. He just brings that energy, like. The old Pat Bev.
Old Pat Bev before he went to the Lakers. I knew
like
Pat Bev,
the Clippers Pat Bev.
Clippers Pat Bev was tough because he was one of the most annoying players to play against just because of the way he plays defense. He's going to be in your face the whole time. He's going to talk smack to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, that's what you have to do as a competitor in the NBA. Absolutely. You know, there's not a lot of guys that necessarily do that anymore, but I think Pat Bev was one of those guys, and I appreciate that Jose Alvarado brings that same type of energy to the game. But like you said, sure, I'd be pissed about that, but think about it too. The Suns definitely were very arrogant in that series, and I think they just want them to taste their own medicine. And really, I mean, that's going to be a chippy, rivalry now, because I feel like those teams might see each other in the playoffs depending on, because the Suns right now are in the play-in, so they might be a low seed, so it might be the inverse this year where the Pelicans are a top seed playing the Suns.
And they get the home court advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think another interesting point, Nick, before we get to like our NBA awards and our All-Star predictions for right now, was the Brooklyn Nets, and they are 12-1 in their last 13 games, and that one loss is for our hometown Chicago Bulls. So let's go IO on that block on KD. But Nick, tell me more about the Nets.
Yeah. So since with the loss last night, they're 25-13. They just had a 12-game win streak, as we were talking about. They're 19-7 now in conference play, so they're taking care of the Eastern Conference really well. They're 13. The thing is, they're 13-5 at home, and they're 12-8 on the road,
which isn't bad.
Which is fantastic. I mean, if you're over 500 in both categories and your game's over 500, it's not that they're just one game over or whatever. When you're like 4 or 5 games over in both home and on the road, that's impressive in itself. That's just showing that you're ready to play. Like those back-to-backs, like haven't really like affected their team. Mm-hmm. They go out there and play the game no matter what, no excuses, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. What's really surprising, Claxton's been great for them as a rim protector, and everyone talked about a lot how the Nets front court was the issue. They're first in the NBA in blocks right now. I mean, they're averaging 6.8 blocks a night right now.
Monster.
And how they're the opposite of the Nuggets. Mm-hmm. How the Nuggets were second in the NBA in field goal percentage and first in the NBA in 3-point percentage. It's the complete opposite for the Nets. The Nets are first in the NBA in field goal percentage, 51.5, and then they're second in the NBA in 39.3%. So they're shooting the ball at a high clip as a team. They're third in the NBA in offensive rating, 116.2, and then they're fifth in the NBA in fast break points at almost 17 points a game. So they're getting out of transition. They're running. They're having a great time, and obviously Kyrie Irving and KD right now are. Even though the Bulls lost last night, KD had 44?
He had 44 last night. KD's been balling. He's like averaging I think I don't have the exact number, but I believe the last time I looked it was like 30 points per game. I mean, Kyrie's having a great season too. I know, again, there's Kyrie gets himself into trouble with certain topics and certain things that he says, but when he's playing on the court and he's staying out of trouble, he's still one of the best players in the game.
And my only concern of the Nets is obviously KD and Kyrie. They really don't have like that third scorer. No. Like the Bucks, they have that when Chris Middleton's healthy. Jrue Holiday's that third scorer. And with Boston, they just have like a lot of players that can get you a bucket. Yeah. And Milwaukee has that too. They not as much as Boston, but they have that. But the Nets really don't like. Ben Simmons is a great player, but he's not that third scorer. They really don't have that third scorer that can get them a bucket when Kyrie and KD are not having a good night.
Well, it's crazy too because, as you mentioned, Ben Simmons, I remember looking on Twitter yesterday and seeing Ben Simmons finally made his first free throw since November of 2022. So, that was last night. So, Ben Simmons is not your third scorer. I mean, they've kind of relied off of multiple guys. I know Seth Curry's been in and out of the lineup.
TJ Warren's been pretty good though, actually.
Definitely TJ. I would say Nick Claxton has actually been probably your third best player, in consistency wise. He's been playing pretty well. Yeah. Obviously, he's really your only big man on the team. Everybody else is a little undersized. Obviously, they have Markieff Morris, which I think was a good pickup for them. Yeah. Give him some toughness. Yuta Watanabe, has been. He's also he was having a little streak where he was really hot from three. So they've had guys that you didn't expect at the beginning of the year to be stepping up the way they are. But they've been playing really well. Give Jacques Vaughn credit because I think he's really showed, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. And, it went from firing Steve Nash to now being, are they second in the East right now? So, I mean,
yeah, my only concern is like, I think they could beat everybody else except for the Bucks and Celtics because they have so many defenders that can load up, that can give KD and Kyrie. I mean, you're not gonna stop them, but you can at least contain them because you have so many guys. You can throw different guys on them and stuff, and those are the two teams in the East that can do that.
Yeah, and those
I think with Brooklyn, I know they're third in the NBA offensive rating. I get all that, but I think when it comes to the playoffs, the game slows down so much more. It's more, a half court tempo.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that third scorer, it's not going to work. You're not going to get to the finals.
No, I agree, and I hate to mention this too, but for Nets fans, Ben Simmons is still not an offensive player.
No.
Hack of Simmons is going to happen in the playoffs, whether you like it or not. They're going to foul him, and they're going to try and make him go off the court because once you lose him as your best defender, I know that Royce O'Neal's a good defender as well, and obviously KD is not what he was at the Golden State level. But he can still guard.
Yeah.
He can still get his blocks. He's still a good perimeter defender. But you don't have a lot of guys outside of that. A lot of those other guys are more offensive-minded players.
Yeah.
If you think of a Joe Harris, a Seth Curry.
Those are just 3-point shooters.
Yeah, they're not. They're more for shooting primarily and not necessarily defense. So you really have to be careful. And Nick Claxton,
he's the most important player.
Yeah.
Especially in the playoffs, because if he's in foul trouble, especially if they get to the Eastern Conference semis and you're playing against Boston or Milwaukee, who's going to guard Giannis? Or in the East? You get what I mean.
Because it was the same problem. The Suns had the same issue against the Bucks in the finals. What happened? They didn't have anybody else except DeAndre Ayton that could guard.
He got destroyed.
Giannis, and he got destroyed. He was getting into foul trouble. They had to get him out of the game. Frank Kaminsky can't guard him. Cam Johnson can, he can bother him a little bit, but not nothing crazy. You just didn't have guys that could really throw their bodies at Giannis and stop him. It's hard. He's just one of those players you just cannot answer for.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of good topics have been brought up already, and I think a lot of things that you mentioned about the Nets. I would say that yes, I think that they're not the favorites in the East right now. I still think it's the Celtics. I think the Bucks have a chance. You never can count out Giannis. But Nick, let's get to our NBA awards.
Yes.
And how we're gonna do this is we're gonna both go. We'll both give our MVP, our Coach of the Year, our Most Improved Player, Sixth Man of the Year. We can give a little bit of a reasoning behind it. But Nick, if you want to go first, you want to tell me who you got?
Yeah. So you just want to start with MVP?
Yeah, let's start with MVP.
So MVP right now, I think it's Luka Doncic right now. They're fourth in the West right now, and after Jalen Brunson leaves, that was that second best player. He was huge in the playoffs for them last year. They really didn't upgrade. They had Christian Wood, but he's coming off the bench. Everyone thought that Christian Wood would have given them much more production that he has given in the past, like Houston and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So he's pretty much. He's averaging 34, 9, and 9. He's shooting 50%, and he's improved for the three. He's shooting 35%, which is not. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's respectable, especially of high volume shooter that he is. He's just literally just put this team on his back, and the fact he had a 60-20-20. It's ridiculous. And then he has a 40-point triple double the game after. Then he's playing out of his mind right now. In my opinion, he's the MVP right now. As long as he stays healthy, as long as the Mavs are a top 5 seed in the West going into the playoffs. If he's putting up these numbers, how do you not give Luka the MVP?
You have to give Luka the MVP this year. The way he's playing, like you said, he's willing this team. Having a 60, 20, and 20 game, he's the first player to ever do that. Having a 40-point triple-double the game after. He's damn near averaging a triple-double right now, shooting at 50% field goal percentage, and the Mavs being where they're at, I believe, when I wrote this down, they were 22-16, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're now 23-16. But again, I think it goes down to this. Luka is a generational player. Obviously, when we look at that Hawks and Mavs trade, we know who won that trade now because...
Thank you. I can't stand out people on social media. Even last year, this is what both teams needed. No. Luka is clearly better. No disrespect to Trae Young. He's been balling ever since he got in the NBA too.
Yeah,
there's levels to this. There's levels to this, and Luka's just on a different level right now.
I can promise you, man, 10 out of 10 people would tell you they would rather build around Luka Doncic than Trae Young. There's
100%.
no way.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm worried about with him is that, it could be like a Cleveland situation with LeBron the first time around. They didn't put enough around Luka to really compete for a title. And it's you can will your team to one finals appearance, but I think that, the Western Conference, they got as close as they could, but that team is just, they need more pieces.
Luka's a top 3 player, top 5 player, however you want to rank him right now in the NBA. Definitely the front runner MVP, but they need to do some at either this trade deadline, or they really need to make huge
100%.
improvements in the offseason.
100%.
Yep.
And then for our next award, who do you think so far has been the coach of the year?
So I actually have Michael Malone for the Denver Nuggets.
Respect that.
I think it's a race between 3 coaches. I just went with Michael Malone because they're first seed in the West right now, and there was a lot of question marks with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. coming off those injuries. How were they going to be able to get to where they were in the bubble, like they were in the bubble?
Yeah.
And then all those injuries happened, and Jokic was putting the team on his back last year. Literally carried them to a 6th seed. Obviously, everyone knew that they were going to lose to Golden State in the playoffs, but he's just one hell of a coach, man. Michael Malone knows what he's doing inside and out. I just
100%.
love the way he coaches the game. I just love his energy towards the game. So he's my coach of the year right now.
No, I respect that, and I think Michael Malone definitely could win Coach of the Year. I have no doubt. I'm going to go a little bit different than you. I think right now, and I know we were talking about this earlier, but I think right now I would either have to give it to Joe Mazzulla or Jacques Vaughn, and I think if the Nets continue the pace they're at, I think it'll be Jacques Vaughn. I think the reason why it'll be Jacques Vaughn is based off of everything that happened this year for the Nets already. Obviously with the Ben Simmons stuff, obviously with the Kyrie stuff, obviously with the KD trade, and Steve Nash getting fired at the beginning of the year, and this team kind of looked dead in October, early November, them coming around, winning 12 straight, and
he's getting this team to play basketball now.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, that's something that they needed. Again, I have no hate or disrespect towards Steve Nash. He just wasn't, unfortunately, he wasn't the right coach for the job. And I think that, Jacques Vaughn has been really a revelation for the team as well. I think he's really helped this team, turn it around. Obviously, KD and Kyrie play has also been a huge reason why they are where they are. It's not just the coach, it's the players, but it looks like they want to play for Jacques Vaughn. So that is another thing. For our most improved player, Nick, who you got?
Tyrese Halliburton, man. And he's still averaging a double-double.
Yeah.
And Indiana, I don't know what the record is. Were they like 5 games over 500?
21-17 right now.
Okay, 4 games over, and no one gave them a lick of hope. Everyone was saying how they were going to be one of the top 3 to 5 worst teams in the NBA. How they were going to be, doing that. Not winning games and stuff because they wanted to tank. Exactly. There's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
But no, Tyrese Halliburton has been balling. This
100%.
year. Now we're starting to see, and I don't think he has reached his full potential yet, so it's kind of scary. It's scary because this dude's going to be for real, and I can't believe that he fell in that draft. I'm watching the draft, I'm like, how is he not picked in the top 5? It blows my mind. Tyrese Halliburton should have been picked in the top. It was driving me crazy as a fan. How is he not picked yet?
I couldn't even tell you, man, because I just think that sometimes with hindsight's 2020. I feel like with some of these redrafts, you always look at these players and it's like, how did other teams not look? And it's just sometimes it's because I think Tyrese said that he basically bombed all his other interviews with every other team because he just really liked his workout with Sacramento so much he wanted to play there. So he really just kind of made it look like he wasn't good enough or he just wasn't the right player for the team. But man, I gotta tell you, I agree 100% with you with the most improved player. I also have Tyrese Halliburton winning most improved player. The guy is leading the league in assists, and I'm not saying he's playing with bums either, because he does have some good.
He's not playing with any all-star level players or anything that either. Doing that stuff.
Ben Mathurin is probably going to be the second best player next to him once he gets to his full potential. Obviously, Miles Turner has been good this year. Buddy Hield has picked it up, and really outside of that, they have kind of some role guys and stuff. But they don't have anything crazy.
No.
And he's averaging 20 points a game right now. He's shooting pretty well at 48.5 from the field.
Yeah.
So for me, I think one of the biggest things for Tyrese is that if they start putting pieces around him, how good can they actually be, and how much will the Kings end up regretting that trade in the long run? Because I think that there's going to be 2 things that are going to go with that, because obviously the Kings are benefiting from this Kevin Sabonis, but I think that in the long run, Halliburton.
Oh, I heard something in the long run, 100%.
Halliburton will be better.
I mean, it's looked good for both teams right now. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Mavericks in Atlanta with the Luka. I mean, it looked good for both, but then there's that level.
There's levels.
And Tyrese Halliburton has all the tools in his bag if he keeps working on his game 24/7, especially in the off season when he takes advantage of this off season. Man,
I think the Kings could actually be better. I think they actually could be better if they had Halliburton right now. Like I'm not even kidding because I just think that he's better than De'Aaron Fox. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So to end our predictions for the NBA awards, are way too early prediction, but nonetheless, halfway through the year, our sixth man of the year. Who do you think so far has been the sixth man of the year?
I gotta give this man a lot of love because he's had a lot of hate, especially from a crazy, very passionate fan base that was killing him. Oh, he's the biggest reason why we suck, blah, 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 blah. But he's accepted his role, and he's playing at a good level off the bench. It's Russell Westbrook right now.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's averaging about 14, 8, and 7. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I might not be 100% right, but I think it's something around those lines.
Yeah.
He's embraced his role, and he's playing more like himself coming off the bench. Because I just think with him on the floor with LeBron and AD at the same time, he can't be a third wheel because he can't shoot.
Yeah.
He needs to be that ball dominant player, and he's able to do that with the second unit. And he's playing really well off the bench right now.
I definitely agree. No, I agree with that, and I think that Westbrook being in the second unit, and just to answer the question for it, my sixth man of the year also right now is Russell Westbrook, and I think one of the things with Westbrook is that he, at first, I don't think was happy about taking that bench role, but I think he started to embrace it, seeing that, he was playing better. Fans were happy with him. Mm-hmm. He's able to get his shots. He's able to control the tempo. He's going to push because obviously he's a fast break type of guy that's going to want to run. And when you are running with a second unit, you're going to have the ability to really call what you want. And, I mean, he has 3 triple-doubles off the bench. And that's not something that a lot of people off the bench do. So
I think a lot of starters do.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
it's
crazy, but evolving your game and not becoming another Allen Iverson, where you're not accepting a role that you have to maybe accept because it's just something that you have to do.
I think what he also realizes too is when he's playing with the second unit, he's not going against the opponent's best guard defenders as much.
Exactly.
Because now he's going against a lot of the team's second units as well. Mm-hmm. So Russ is taking advantage of who he's actually going against.
Oh yeah.
In the game.
Yeah, no, 100%. And maybe he could be an all-star reserve. Who knows with the voting and stuff. But I think, Nick, we have our last topic that we want to cover for today.
Absolutely.
And this would be our NBA All-Star predictions. So with the All-Star game being about like a little bit over a month away, and obviously fan voting has started. So I just want to preface this too. We did not pick these players after we saw the first round of fan voting. We've actually picked these players a couple of days ago. So Nick, give me your East starters and your West starters, and then I'll give you mine.
Sounds good. So in the East right now, Donovan Mitchell is that guard. I don't want to really go into the stats because we would take a while, but Donovan Mitchell's having one hell of a year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he just had a 71-point game against the Bulls. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't have to.
You don't have to explain anything more than that.
Yeah,
he's
Donovan
the best
Mitchell
player.
Is definitely, and the Cavs are playing really well right now. He deserves to be an All-Star starter. in my opinion.
Of course.
It's very interesting that the All-Star game's in Utah. He's going to be a starter.
Hey, Danny Ainge wanted his assets.
So the next starter I got to show some love to Jaylen Brown.
Oh, of course.
And he's been one of those that's gotten snubbed in the past, and now he's really evolved. I mean, he evolved since like last year. He really took that next step. He's even taken a bigger step this year, and you look like they're number one in the East too and stuff. So yeah, I mean, Jaylen Brown's averaging 27, whatever the numbers were.
27, 3 and 7.
He's on my fantasy team, so I gotta show him some love.
Yeah, you got it.
The next one I got Jason Tatum. Like you said, he's averaging 31 right now. He's taking his game to another level. He's taking that finals loss, very seriously, and he got so much criticisms from like the entire media world how bad or how underperformed he did in the finals. So, Jason Tatum deserves to be a starter in my opinion. Next is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh yeah, of course.
what else hasn't he done? 32 and 12, whatever his stats are.
30. Yeah, it's about 32.
It's
12
ridiculous.
and
There's nothing more I can say. My opinion, best player in the world, but that's another discussion for another day.
Well, we'll talk about that soon.
And the center, I got Joel Embiid. I don't think there's anything else to talk about.
I don't think there's much explanation you have to do with that.
Yeah.
So okay, so you got your East starters. So you got
My
Donovan
West.
Mitchell, Brown,
Yeah.
Tatum, Antetokounmpo, and Embiid.
Yes.
So who's your West?
So my West, I got, in my opinion, MVP, Luka Doncic, my guard. Number 2 guard, we got to show some love, bro. I mean, we don't talk about this team a lot, and I get it. This brother's averaged a 30.
He's cold,
SGA.
man. He's cold. And I mean, if you remember the beginning of the season, this dude was just balling out of his
balling.
mind. And I know he's been hurt.
And he's been balling too.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's taken such a huge step into this game,
Oh,
but he's always been a baller ever since. Even with the Clippers coming off the bench, he was a
rookie and he was playing playoff minutes. So
the biggest asset they got in that Paul George trade.
Yeah,
was SGA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they knew his potential, and hey, thanks for the pick, by the way, in Vegas when I met you. So I got to show him some love there when I met him in Vegas.
No, I mean, I can give you the numbers real quick, Nick. 30.8 points per game, 8.9 assists per game, 8.8 rebounds.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's all I got to say. LeBron, I have, as the first forward, what he's been able to do, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll never see another LeBron James again. There's really not.
You don't have to really argue that one.
I'm not going to argue it. Zion Williamson, I know he's hurt, but he's had one hell of a year. Just like you said, this is the best year of his career, averaging 26, 27 points per game, and they're top 3 seed in the West right now. Just hope he could stay healthy enough to where he could become an all-star star, and hopefully he could be 100% going into the playoffs, because I really think the Pelicans can make some noise.
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I think if he can stay healthy, and obviously like his legs are.
Yeah, and then my other starter. I mean,
do you really have to give a nigga explanation?
Yeah. So those are my 5 in the East, and then those are my 5 in the West.
Okay. So I will give you mine real quickly because I think that we don't really have to repeat ourselves here. But I actually do have the same starters as you, Nick. I do want to just make one comment about point guard. So I believe that it will be Donovan Mitchell. There's nothing else that I see that could be that. Who I'd like to see is Tyrese Halliburton. But my reasoning for that is because of how well the Pacers have been and how well he has played. It's just kind of like, it's crazy. But I know that because Donovan Mitchell, obviously a 70-point game, obviously the Cavs are doing really good this year, and he's been their best player.
Darius Garland's been missing a lot of games this year, too.
And that's been a big thing, and they've still been really successful because last year when they were missing games with Garland, Mobley, and
they took a
Allen, they
huge
took a huge dip and
Yeah.
they missed the playoffs. I also have Jaylen Brown as the other guard. I just think that he's hooping out of his mind. We've given the numbers already. Not much argument on even Jason Tatum. I think that he'll be one of the forwards. Giannis is literally a walking 30 and 15
That's
every
insane.
game. I think that he'll make it. I know that people would be like, why don't you have Kevin Durant? My reasoning for that is because, yes, the fan vote might be, crucial for certain parts, but I do think overall that Giannis will get more, possibly more votes than KD. But, I'm not going to, go and say, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And then Embiid would be my center, too. Because I feel like there's only really 2 centers that, and we said this even before the podcast today, there's 2 centers in the NBA that are going to make the All-Star team, and that's who I have in the West. I'll start with Jokic as my center in the West. Zion's going to be one of my forwards. LeBron's my other forward as well. I know it's technically 3 forwards, but, Jokic, do we really have to even say anything about him?
Yeah.
Like you said, shout out SGA.
Show my man some love, man.
And then Luka legend over here. Because I think that, a lot of guys that we always, talk about as iconic players in the NBA, I think, you're going to see some guys this year that have never been starters finally starting the All-Star game. Yeah. So I really hope SGA is one of those.
I think the reserves, when we get into it, I really want to see if we have any differences. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Because they probably, anybody listening to this is probably thinking, oh, we definitely collabed on this. We did not.
Yeah, we did not.
I sent him my picks, and then he said I have the same exact ones. So,
when it comes to the starters, but we don't know all our reserves.
No. So, Nick, let me hear your East reserves first.
So the East reserves, 7 reserves, right? So I got Kevin Durant.
Okay.
I got Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
Trae Young.
Okay.
Pascal Siakam.
Okay.
How many is there right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have Julius Randle.
Okay.
And then the 7th is between 4 players. It's tough, man. Tyrese Halliburton could be that 7th player.
Yeah.
But I want to just name 4 guys that could potentially get that 7th spot because it's so hard to pick. Tyrese Halliburton's one of them. Okay. Kristaps Porzingis has finally been healthy. He's averaging 24 and 9 or 24 and 8, something like that.
He's been doing well.
And just in case for an injury, Zach LaVine could somehow slide in there. Somehow. He's not like one of my top 2 options, like as like a substitution in the reserves, but that's just somebody. And then Bam Adebayo's having. I mean, he's still averaging 21 and 9. He's having a good year. So though, but I would probably give Tyrese Halliburton that last spot.
Okay.
But those other names, I wouldn't be like surprised if they somehow snuck in there.
No, I definitely agree with you. So I do have similar ones to you. So I got DeMar. I still think he's gonna get a nod. I mean, he's like one of the top vote getters already. Trae Young's just a popular name, and he's a hooper.
He's averaging 29. That's insane.
He's great. I know you put Halliburton as your 7th, but I think Halliburton's going to for sure get a spot in the All-Star game. Yeah. I just think the way that he's been playing and his, shout out Tyrese. You are a hooper, man. You just keep doing what you're doing.
The only reason I think is because he's not like, I guess the fan vote, which I think it's ridiculous that it has such a huge impact. I don't think he's like that big yet for the NBA fans.
I agree. Yeah. And, I know that definitely plays a role, but I think, if he gets enough votes and the coaches, decide, I think he could definitely get a spot. I also have KD, I don't really need to go into that. Kyrie, I have James Harden. The reason I have Harden is just, again, like you said, fan votes and stuff. He's definitely going to get votes, no matter what. There are
I obviously would have had him in there. It was just hard for me that he's only played 24 games. I mean, it's not his fault.
No, it's not.
It sucks. It's not his fault, but, you're getting into these votes. It's kind of like the MVP, like how John Morant was eliminated from that because he missed too many games. I feel like with the All-Star game, I think Harden's missed a lot of games, and don't get me wrong, he would definitely, when healthy, he's definitely on this.
Definitely. Yeah. And then my last one is Pascal Siakam.
Baller.
But if I had to, because I think that one of these guys might get replaced just in case of injury or something, I would definitely have to say Bradley Beal actually would be a low-key one, or Kyle Kuzma. I think one of those Wizards players. I know you mentioned Kristaps. I know Kuz has a lot of fan votes already. And that would be somebody I'd possibly put, just the way he's been playing. But Beal has been an all-star player.
It's just hard because he's just been hurt. He's missed so many games this year due to so many different injuries. It's the hamstring. It's this.
No, definitely.
That's. Don't get me wrong. Like when healthy, James Harden and Bradley Beal are all-stars every year.
Yeah. No.
100%.
100%, man. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think to wrap up today, let's talk about our West reserves that we're thinking are going to be showing up in Utah in February.
All right. Well, I'll start off with the greatest. Stephen A. says the greatest shooter God has ever created, Stephen Curry. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to talk about with Steph. Best point guard in the league. There's nothing else you can talk about.
Nope.
Damian Lillard's been balling this year. I know he's missed some games, but not to the point where he can't make the All-Star game. He's been playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
John Morant is the
course.
third. Of course, I have 3 point guards right off the bat.
It's hard, man. There's too many talented guards on the league.
Devin Booker, gotta have him in there.
Yeah.
That's 4. Paul George. Been healthy. Clippers playing, good. And there's been a lot of games that Kawhi hasn't played, and Paul George.
They're like under the radar.
He's been stepping, averaging 24. He's putting up respectable numbers. We have to give Lauri Markkanen some love, bro. I mean, he's averaging 23 and 8, if those numbers are correct.
I believe it's somewhere around that mark.
And it was just like what we were talking about Tyrese Halliburton in the East. Everyone thought that Utah they were dog shit. They're going to be one of the worst teams. They're going to be tanking for Victor. They traded 2 All-Stars. Yeah. And they're somehow still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I mean, they are falling off.
They are falling off. They're kind of like the Cavs of last year. They're starting to fall off. Yeah. But the fact that I'm so shocked to the point that where they are. I would have never thought they would.
I never would have thought this year. I thought they were going to be a bottom.
So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I named 6. So I need 1 more. It's kind of hard because I have 3 other names mentioned, and as long as Anthony Davis can stay healthy, I mean, he's putting up 28 and 12, I think, right now, so he would definitely be in it.
Yeah.
I also have Anthony Edwards. You know, with Cat being out, you know, he is averaging 24 a game right now. He's really
he's definitely a possibility.
And then another name I got, we might have different kings, but I went with De'Aaron. I mean, he's averaging 23. I think I don't know what his numbers are exactly, but he's stepped up. He's been a lot better from the perimeter too, as well.
Yeah, his 3-point shot is
because I think he had a major chip on his shoulder because everyone talked about how he should have been the one that should have gotten traded, which I can definitely see why. But at the same time, he's been balling this year, and I have to show him some love. And the Kings are having a great year so far.
No, definitely. And you know, like another thing too is like, I think the Kings definitely will have one All-Star starter this year, or not starter, but reserve at least.
Yeah.
And I believe for like the reserves for the West, I have Devin Booker, Dame, Ja, Paul George, Lauri Markkanen, Steph Curry, and then I actually have Domantas Sabonis. I think, you know, Sabonis has been having a great year himself. I think he's going to definitely be like one of those guys that's going to, you know, really step up his game and continue to help them get into the playoffs. So, that's another one that can definitely make it for sure, no doubt. And, I mean, if AD's healthy, he'll probably be either a starter or a reserve.
As long as he stays healthy until, like, the All-Star break runs, he's definitely getting in.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. But I think you know, that was a great, you know, bunch of topics today. So much, and to be. Hey guys, coming back to you. Apologize for the outage for the end of the episode. So what happened is that the recording tool kit that we use unfortunately crashed on us. So we were able to recover all of the audio file and the video. So the video does stop out, I believe, at a certain point when we're talking about our all-star selections. So if you are watching this on YouTube, we are showing you some type of visual. Don't really know what that's going to be yet because I'm still editing this. But anyways, just wanted to thank you guys again for watching the episode. And, you know, this year with the All-Star game being in Utah, I think it's going to be a great showing for Donovan Mitchell to come back to Utah after everything. I think it's going to be a great game all around. I think another year with going past COVID is really also just kind of showing how the game is coming back too. So very excited for everything to come. If you guys have not followed us on Twitter or you subscribe to our YouTube channel or following us on Spotify, please do so. Links will be down below in the episode. Definitely spread the word for our podcast as well. We're going to continue to try and drop more clips on our Twitter page and just keep you with fresh content as much as we can. Me and Nick, we're trying to make sure that we're getting down on a better schedule for everything and truthfully want to be able to give you guys the best content out there. So continue to listen to us. We appreciate all of your guys' support during everything. And I'm Alex. And for Nick, this is the All Ball, No Foul podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great start to your new year, and we will see you next time.